Yate Marley Shebal Yenshia Toheglini Shlon Nashteja Jatana Bashichin. And I introduced myself the way that I was taught in the Dine way. I told you that my name is Marley Shebala, but I am where the waters come together. That's my clan on my mom's side, Toheglini. And my father's side is Zuni. He's Zuni, and my father's clan, which is my clan, is Frog. So I'm where the waters come together and Frog.
Okay, you're here. Tell us what it is you're here for today in Phoenix.
I'm here attending the Continental Network of it's the Indigenous. It's in a gathering of Indigenous journalists, writers, communicators, people in the media. And we've come together to understand that there may be borders that are set up by the governments, like the U.S. government, the Mexican government, the Canadian government. But that what we do shouldn't be blocked by borders, that as Indigenous people, there shouldn't be any type of censorship of our voices, our music, our way of life, and that could involve, like what we did today. We had a meeting this morning, but this afternoon we went out to Salt River and we visited with the tribal program that promotes farming in the traditional way. And that the farming is so much tied to people, their culture, identity, the seeds, their stories with it, that even though some of the seeds were lost, that doesn't mean that it can never be brought back. And that's what they're doing, and they've done that. And through it too, you know, there's teachings there that keep us healthy with our foods, and that also reminds us that we can, you know, grow things ourselves. And it's also in this day and age when you have a lot of foods that are not healthy out there, and then you also have foods that are expensive. So it's a way, if you grow your own food, you know, you can keep yourself healthy. It ties you back to the earth, but it also helps you out financially, you know, your family.
So you're here for a media conference, basically, of Indigenous, I guess, people.
Yes.
So tell us what it is that you do and how you became involved in this project or this conference.
Well, I've been involved in media for about 30 years. I'm a journalist, and I've worked for 3 newspapers and a radio station. And so right now I'm an independent journalist, but I've done investigative work. My work has been recognized by the Arizona Press Club. I'm actually the only journalist in Arizona that has won Community Journalist of the Year 3 times, and that's from the Arizona Press Club. And so I strive to be professional, to maintain standards of journalism, and to also, in those standards of journalism, bring the voices of the people out to other people, to share their stories, to bring an understanding, and especially though to cover government. For me, it's the Navajo Nation government, but that reaches also into the county, state, and federal government. And what we're talking about today is very much about government. Our governments and the governments that are on a larger level, national, international, because they make decisions that affect us, have always affected us, our lands, our way of life. Arizona, some years back, they passed a law, English only. And Navajo Nation came to the state and opposed it, and, you know, said you can't do that. This has always been our language. English is a foreign language. And so I cover those types of events because it deals with, in schools, I go into the schools, I cover human rights issues. It's what you do as a journalist, you cover your community.
So where do you work out of? What's your home base, I guess?
I actually work where now I'm a social media journalist. So I have a laptop, I do blogging, I have a website. So when I post to my website, I do on-the-spot reporting. So I'll attend an event or a government meeting, and I'll be reporting right there from my laptop, typing in what's happening. And as soon as I post it, it immediately goes to my Facebook and my Twitter account.
So what are those, how can we reach you? How can the audience reach you?
Well, if you use whatever search engine you prefer, you can put in my name, Marley, and that's M-A-R-L-E-Y, and the last name is Shebala, S-H-E-B-A-L-A. And so my Facebook will come up, my Twitter, my website, and I also have a YouTube account, and I also do a blog talk radio show every Thursday from 7 to 9.
So what you learned today, you've already posted?
Yes, I posted what happened this morning, and I did a videotape of the visit out to the farm, and then we also visited with a historian from one of the tribes here who talked about the way that our lifestyles are still being maintained, because I think that when we don't see one another as relatives the way we did years and years ago before the Europeans came, we understood that each one of us had ceremony, and now we don't have that same type of connection. But when we went to go see the historian, he talked about the puberty ceremonies that are done for the males and the females, and showed us items, and also the weavings. And these are very important, because this is history. Sometimes we, maybe as journalists or communicators, and I've seen it happen in newsrooms that I've worked in, you'll have someone think, well, you know, that event is not as important as this event, and yet they are just as important, because it deals with lives, it deals with a way of life, with who we are, it deals with our identity.
Tell us some of the other issues that you've covered that you're really concerned about.
The issues that I don't think it's maybe that I'm concerned about, it's what is happening within the community, and it brings those issues out. I've been attending meetings regarding government reform on the Navajo Nation, and the government reform deals with maintaining or strengthening that identity, that culture, that way of life in a government structure, and understanding that the current government structure that Navajo Nation has, other tribes have, but it's not ours. It was forced upon us by the federal government. So we have difficulty in trying to exist under that kind of government structure, and understanding that, and either completely redoing it or amending it in a certain way so that it's a reflection of ourselves. It's something that the people support, but it also maintains the language and the culture. And then, of course, I cover the Navajo Nation government meetings, where you have the Navajo Nation Council making decisions, you have the judiciary branch, the courts making decisions, then you have the executive branch, which deals with the services to the people. And there's issues dealing with land, with water rights, with education, elections, and of course people know about the elections on the Navajo Nation that have been in the news, and it's very controversial, but that has hopefully we've gone through that chaos and confusion, and now there's going to be elections. But in the meantime, because of that though, the people have realized that there's certain things within the election law that need to be addressed, updated. There's a huge discussion about the language and our identity and our connection with it and the land. And then there's other issues. I went to an event where you had Miss Navajo Nation and Miss Indian New Mexico, some of the other Native American women that hold titles, and they raised money for the Special Olympics. And they did it by going to a local restaurant, and it was called Tip a Royalty. And so the royalty, all dressed up in their royalty, their crowns, their jewelry, they're beautiful. And they were waiting on tables. They would come and serve you coffee, and you could talk to them, get your picture taken with them, and people were really enjoying it. So I went to that event, and I did interviews, took some photographs, and so, you know, I do a variety of things. I wish that I was at home. I enjoy this event. It's like you get so many events that you get invited to. But there was one event that I thought would have been really a lot of, just very interesting. And it was an event about dogs, but dogs that herd sheep and cattle. And so they were going to be doing a demonstration and exhibit. And so I cover those type of events too, because it's part of the community. The community is not completely about politics or government or anything controversial. It's also everyday life, dealing with, the Special Olympics, education. We all have livestock.
So were you born on the reservation? You learned your culture and language?
I was actually born near where Winter Rock is at a place called Fort Defiance, Arizona.
So in your lifetime, what has been the biggest change that you've seen to happen to your people and your land there?
The biggest change has been to the land. The amount of the development of the uranium, the coal mining, there's so much pollution and it's created a lot of sickness. With the uranium industry, there's so much cancer. You go to some of those communities, and I've gone to anniversaries where there's a lot of uranium, there was a lot of uranium mining. And after spending one day there, my throat hurts, my eyes, it's difficult to breathe. And yet, people, I'm Dine, these are Dine people. They live that way every single day. And so it makes you understand the full impact of development of natural resources if you're not given all the information, or if you ask for information and they give you the wrong information, and how it can impact the people, because there's now you see the birth defects among the babies. They're the most innocent, even the livestock. And it's gone into the water, and so because it's in the water, it's gone into the plants, it's affected this whole cycle of life. And so, that's a change I've seen, where we had this very healthy nation, now we're having to deal with those impacts.
So these stories that you report, what are some of the comments your readers say to you about when you report to them?
Well, they thank me. A lot of them put, appreciation, that they appreciate my work and that I'm going to these meetings, because so many of them are working hard at making a living. And on the reservations, we lead a very harsh lifestyle. If you have livestock, you have to get up before dawn and take care of the animals. And then if you have a job, a lot of the jobs people have to drive for miles to. And then if you have children, a lot of the bus routes, they're unpaved, and so the children have to be driven to where there's pavement, and then the families wait for them. And so children are getting on buses at dawn, or even before dawn, and traveling for a couple of hours to go to school. And so they don't have time to attend these important meetings that are happening with the government, or they don't know about an event, but they want to take their child to that event. So I also do let people know if there's going to be registration for Little League Baseball, if there's going to be a free sewing class for the youth, job opportunities. It's a community, and as a community, so they appreciate it, and they let me know. And of course I make the comments about the elected officials, that, maybe not so nice, comments, but.
So in the days that you've been here at this conference, what are you taking away with it that you're going to share with your community?
That there is the same feeling that many of our community members have of this relationship that we have with other indigenous people, and understanding even more that we have relatives that are in the south, they're up in the north, and they are under the same pressure that we have found ourselves with. Like I was talking about, the development of natural resources, and they're trying to protect their water, their land, their air for their children, and maintain also their identity through their language, their culture, their way of life, through ceremony, and what they're doing to do that. And that's why I was really happy to be able to go out to the farm, like I said, you know, and that they have this feeling, a same shared feeling as some of our farmers have when I hear them talking, you know, this is something we want to hand down to our children. It helps them to be strong. They need to understand that it'll also keep them healthy, you know, and not rely so much on going to the store. So there's these connections. And to actually see it and hear it from the people themselves, you know, and they can see this with the videotape that I've taken.
Anything else you'd like to add about your experience or what the conference has meant to you?
Well, it's this connecting, this ability to be able to connect face to face and listen and share a meal, sit down. Even meeting you. If I didn't come to this event, we wouldn't have met. I wouldn't be sitting here being interviewed by you. So I really appreciate, you know, that there's these types of gathering for those of us that are in communications, that are in the media, because we need to have, we need to hear each other's voice, each other's songs, and take that away and let our people know, you know, we're all still together. We all feel a relationship.